The dirt road to Evergreen Ranch feels off today. I'm gripping the steering wheel too hard, knuckles white, tires throwing up the same old dust behind me. 5 years of driving this route every weekend, I know every bump and rut. Past the crooked mailbox, evergreen peeling and almost gone. Around that bend where the sage nearly swallows the fence. Up the hill where the barn's red roof pops out against the Idaho sky. But then I crest the last rise and slam on the brakes. There's a huge metal dumpster blocking the driveway. This thing is massive, green sides towering over my car, big enough to eat a truck. I just sit there with the engine idling, staring, trying to make sense of it. I didn't order any dumpster. Out of the corner of my eye, I spot movement behind it. Mark. My uncle stands by the porch, looking weirdly clean in khakis and a polo I've never seen on him before. He's waving at 3 guys in work gloves. They're hauling stuff out of the house, armloads of it, moving fast, like people who get paid by the hour and don't care what goes in the trash. I turn off the engine and shove my door open before I even know what I'm doing. Mark. My voice cracks across the yard. He turns, catches sight of me, and his face shifts, nothing like guilt, more like he's just surprised to see me early. One of the workers heaves a box into the dumpster, and I hear glass shatter inside. My boots hit the gravel and I'm running. I have to grab the cold metal and haul myself up on my toes to see inside, and when I do, I can't breathe. Grandma Evelyn's gardening journals, those old leather ones she filled with neat handwriting every spring for 40 years, are scattered across the bottom like garbage. Spines broken, pages splayed in the muddy water from yesterday's rain. There's a photo album face down, the sleeves ripped open. I spot the corner of a photo, Evelyn, young, standing out front of this same barn, now pressed into the dirt. And then I see the quilt. God. The quilt. Cream and blue patchwork, the one we spent 3 winters sewing together at her kitchen table. My stitches crooked, hers perfect. She always said the uneven squares made it honest. Now it's just crumpled at the bottom, filthy and ruined. Stop. The word rips out of me raw. Stop right now. The workers freeze mid-step and look to Mark. He doesn't hurry, just strolls over, something in his face that makes my hands clench. Jenna. He says my name like I'm a kid interrupting adult business. This is estate business. Estate business? My voice shakes. You're throwing away her journals. Her photos. Clutter, he says, stopping a few feet away, forcing me to look up at him. He's always been tall, always used it. The property's got liability issues. Insurance won't cover it in this condition. Another worker comes out with a box. Mark snatches something off the top before it can go in the dumpster, a small leather journal. Evelyn's recipe book, the one with her mother's notes in the margins. He holds it up, makes sure I see, then tosses it in with the rest. The soft thud lands in my chest. You can't. My throat is closing. You have no right. I'm the executor, Jenna. The will was clear. He crosses his arms. And, before you start getting emotional, you should know the locks are changed. New deadbolts. Professional grade. The property needs to be secured during the transition. I glance at the front door, shiny new brass where the old iron lock used to be. The same lock Evelyn gave me a key for 5 years ago when she asked me to help her with the place. When she was too weak to do it herself. Movement on the porch. Susan, Mark's wife, stands there, arms crossed just like him. She says nothing, just watches. The silent enforcer. The witness. Insurance requirements, Mark goes on, sounding important. Professional assessment of the property value. You wouldn't understand the complexity. His voice has that fake authority he gets when he's out of his depth. Every part of me wants to shove past him, climb into that dumpster, rescue whatever pieces of Evelyn I can. My hands are shaking. I'm making fists so tight my nails dig crescents into my palms. My mother's words just won't leave me alone. Family is everything, Jenna. Respect your elders. Be the bigger person. Keep the peace. She's drilled that into me for as long as I can remember, until it's settled in so deep it feels like I built my own cage out of it. So I stand there, shaking. I can't move, can't get out the words that are burning up my throat. Mark takes one look at me and decides I've given up. He turns, heads back to the house, doesn't even look at me. Don't make this hard on the family, Jenna, he tosses over his shoulder. Susan finally speaks up from the porch, her voice slicing through the distance. We're doing what's necessary. Necessary. Like that's some magic excuse for wiping someone out of existence. I want to just leave. Get in my car and go, before I do or say something I'll regret. But I can't move. My feet are glued in place. Instead, I reach into the dumpster, digging in until my ribs scrape the metal. My fingers close around a journal. I pull it out. The leather cover is wet, smeared with mud, but inside, Evelyn's handwriting is right there. May 1998. Planted the tomatoes early this year. Jenna helped dig the rows. Poe. I was 10 that summer. Mark stands on the porch, watching as I walk to my car with the journal pressed to my chest. He just lets me go. Why wouldn't he? He's already erased me from the story. I slide into the driver's seat and set the journal down, careful. My hands are filthy, there's grime under my nails, and my eyes sting, but I'm not crying. Not really. Instead, underneath all the shock and hurt, something new is forming, sharp and clear as ice. Mark isn't just careless or overwhelmed with paperwork. He's getting rid of Evelyn on purpose, tossing her out with the trash. That realization settles in. As I start the engine and watch the ranch vanish in my rearview, I make a choice. I'm done being the good niece. 3 days tick by before I come back. This time, I park down the road, out of sight, hidden behind a mess of brush next to the old equipment shed. No one can spot my car from the main road. The morning air is sharp and cold as I cut through sagebrush, keeping off the driveway. The house looks empty, no sign of Mark's truck or Susan's SUV. New deadbolts glint on the front door, probably worth more than all those utility bills I paid over the years. I move slow, sticking close to the wall. The cellar door is right where I remember, half swallowed by 20 years of ivy. The wood frame is rotting, the kind of thing Mark would never notice. Too dirty, not worth his time. I push the vines aside, heart pounding at the noise they make. There's the old iron lock Evelyn never changed. My spare key slips in like it belongs. The lock snaps open, louder than I expect. I freeze for a second, then ease the door open. Hinges groan. Below, nothing but darkness. I grab my phone, flick the flashlight on, and start down the slick stone steps. The cellar smells like dirt, old wood, and something sour, abandonment, maybe. My light bounces off cobwebs, dust swirling in the beam. I cross the dirt floor to the kitchen stairs, moving slow, listening for any noise upstairs. When I come up into the kitchen, I stop breathing. Everything's wrong. The table where Evelyn and I sewed that quilt is shoved against the wall, buried in boxes. The grandfather clock, 40 years in the hallway, is gone. Just a pale rectangle left behind. The walls are stripped, photos missing, but their shapes ghosted in the paint. I drift through the house, taking it all in. The living room furniture's been shoved around, Evelyn's reading chair turned away from her window, the bookshelf empty except for a few ruined paperbacks Mark decided weren't worth anything. The study door gapes open. Papers cover everything. I step over a pile of folders, head to the desk. Mark's handwriting is everywhere, sticky notes on the lamp, the wall, the calendar, talking about appraisals, inspections, closing dates. The language of erasing a life. My hands are steady as I start searching. The top drawer's useless, just pens and rubber bands. The second one won't budge, stuck halfway with junk mail and a mess of unopened envelopes. I tug harder and it finally gives, spilling papers everywhere. That's when I spot it. The survey map. It's jammed between two catalogs, barely peeking out. I yank it free and spread it across the desk, trying to smooth out the creases with hands that honestly won't stop shaking. Evergreen Commercial Plaza. That's the header, big and bold. A developer's draft. Parking lots sketched right where the old pasture should be. Retail units stamped across land Evelyn spent her life trying to save. The date in the corner knocks the breath right out of me, 7 months before Evelyn died. Mark was working on this while she was still alive. I start scanning the margins, my chest tight. His handwriting's there too, blue ink scrawled everywhere. Clear by Q2, it says next to the barn. Max liquidity, underlined twice by the property value. I drop into the desk chair, the map wrinkled up in my fists. Mark wasn't just reacting to pressure from the estate. He wasn't scrambling. He already made the decision. Already found a developer. Already mapped out exactly how to destroy everything Evelyn protected. I keep going, digging through the rest of the disaster on the desk. There's gotta be something else. Some reason. Some proof. I find the loan application buried under a stack of grocery flyers, all crumpled like it almost got tossed. I smooth it out and stare at the red stamp at the top, application rejected. The date matches the survey map, maybe a week off. Mark's signature sits on the applicant line, plain as day. And there, under proposed collateral, Evergreen Ranch, 80 acres, typed up neat as you please. He tried to use the ranch for his own loan. The bank turned him down, he didn't own it. Couldn't offer what wasn't his. So he waited. Waited for Evelyn to die. Waited so he could pretend the estate needed liquidating, when all he really wanted was to pay off his own debts. I take photos of everything. The map. The rejection. His notes. My phone camera clicks and clicks, each shot whisking off to the cloud. Evidence. Proof. Ammunition. Tires crunch on the gravel outside. My heart jumps. I shove the papers back, messy as I found them, and book it for the cellar stairs. Down into the dark, across the dirt floor, and out through the old exterior door. I pull the ivy back into place as I slip out, heart pounding in my ears. By the time Mark slams his truck door, I'm already halfway through the sagebrush, hidden. 2 days later, I'm in William Hartley's office. The place feels like a time capsule, oak panels, leather chairs worn soft, rows of law books. Hartley looks exactly like Evelyn described, sharp-eyed, probably pushing 70, the kind of patience you get from seeing every dirty trick there is. I lay the photos out on his desk without saying a word. He studies them in silence, glasses perched on his nose. When he looks up, there's something steely in his face. The deed's valid, he says. Inter vivos transfer. Evelyn signed the property over to you in January 2023. The ranch was never part of the estate. It feels like a weight lifting off me. So we can stop him, I say. Right now, before he sells. Hartley folds his glasses, slow and careful. We can, but Mark will fight. He'll use estate funds to drag you through court for years. Expensive years. So what now? Let him commit, Hartley says, voice low. Let him sign contracts, put everything in writing. Let him show his bad faith. Then you bring out the deed. Not before. After. I lean back, trying to process. You want me to let him think he's winning? I want him to prove he's guilty, Hartley says, tapping the photo of the loan rejection. This isn't carelessness. It's fraud. But we need intent. Give him rope. Let him hang himself. The drive back feels different. That weight on my chest since the dumpster gone. Replaced by something cold. Focused. I'm not defending anymore. I'm hunting. That night, I make a new folder on my laptop. Blue. I name it Evergreen Ranch Documentation and start uploading everything. The deed Evelyn gave me, the photos from Hartley's office, my own shots, the rotting eaves, the neglected horses, the barn mark left to fall apart. Every email, every snide text. Timestamps on it all. The cloud backup pings. I close the laptop. The click is almost quiet. 3 days later, Jack Miller catches me taking pictures of the busted fence by the north pasture. I'm crouched down, focused on the camera, so I don't notice him until his shadow cuts across my shot. Documenting my screw-ups, he says. I drop the camera, look up. Jack stands there in his old work jacket, hands rough and hanging loose. He's been the ranch's gardener and handyman for 2 decades. Seen everything I've done. Seen everything Mark hasn't. Yeah, I say. No point pretending. Jack just nods. Doesn't ask questions, doesn't give advice. He looks at me, those tired, gentle eyes, and says, Evelyn knew what she was doing when she signed that deed. The words settle in deep. I'm not the only one who knows the truth about what happened here. That night, I get an email. Subject line, important family update. It lands at 8:47 p.m., sent to the whole family. Mark's name in the sender field makes my jaw clench before I even open it. Great news coming at the reunion. Big decisions ahead for all of us. Mark your calendars. More details to follow. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time. The cursor blinks in the reply box. My hands hover over the keys. There's a dozen things I want to say, sharpened questions, accusations, demands, but I close the laptop instead. I'm done talking. My silence is a weapon now. Every day Mark thinks I've surrendered is another day he digs himself in deeper. Another day he moves forward with a sale he has no right to make. Another day he proves William Hartley was right all along. I smile, alone in my apartment. Let Mark believe he's won. Let him send his smug emails and plan his big announcement. When the trap snaps shut, he'll never see it coming. Months go by in a blur. I keep quiet, keep planning, keep waiting. Summer burns out. Leaves turn, and then Idaho winter drops in for real. The temperature falls 19 degrees in 3 days. I'm out at the ranch one Thursday evening in late January, headlights carving up the snow. My toolkit rattles in the back seat. The cellar door sticks when I try to open it, metal hinges tight from the cold. Inside, my breath comes out in thick white clouds under the bare bulb. January in Idaho. Winter isn't just a threat anymore. It's relentless. The barn's even worse. I force the side door open and the cold punches me, way past last month's chilly draft. This is the kind of cold that gets into your bones and won't let go. I flip the lights. The fluorescents stutter on, lighting up steam rising from the stalls. The horses, Evelyn's last 2 mares, Stella and Daisy, stand huddled with their heads down. Their breath fogs the air. When Stella shifts, I see goosebumps ripple along her side. Her winter coat's not thick enough yet. I check the heating oil gauge. Empty. The needle's dead on 0. My phone buzzes. New email from Mark, sent 20 minutes ago while I was driving. Update. Implementing cost-cutting measures before closing. Heating oil delivery canceled for barn. Developer assessment next month. I read it 3 times, just to let it sink in. The developer is coming to check the property, wants to see everything neat, ready for teardown and a shiny new evergreen commercial plaza. Mark canceled the heating oil to make the numbers look better, save a few bucks, keep the property's overhead low. And the horses freeze. My hands are shaking, but not from the cold this time. I can't step in, not legally. Not yet. Hartley warned me, reveal the deed now and it'll be years of court, all while Mark burns through estate funds to fight me. The trap only works if Mark finishes the sale and proves his bad faith, no way out. But I can't just stand by and let the animals suffer. Not while I wait for my moment. I pull up the Tractor Supply website on my phone. Portable space heaters, commercial grade, $186 each. I need at least 4. Thermal blankets for the horses. Another $99. Extra hay, because they'll need every bit of warmth they can get. Another $165 for delivery tonight. That brings me to $1,008 total. I fumble through the checkout, hands numb as I type in my debit card info. The confirmation email pings delivery window set. Sometime between 8 and 10 tonight. So, 2 hours to get ready. I use every minute. I drag out every spare blanket I can find, hauling them from closets and storage bins, draping them over the stall doors to block the drafts. Old towels and rags go into the gaps where the barn siding's warped. Stella watches me the whole time, her big dark eyes tracking every move. When I pass her stall, she leans her nose against my shoulder. Her breath is warm on my cheek. I whisper I know. I'm here. The truck shows up at 9:15. The driver helps me unload the heaters and hay bales. He glances around the dark property but doesn't ask questions. Cash deal. No receipt with Mark's name. He disappears into the night, and I'm left with 4 industrial heaters and a plan that Hartley would hate. I plug in the first heater near Stella's stall. Orange light spills into the barn. The cold doesn't vanish, but it backs off a little. I set up the other heaters so the warm spots overlap, focusing on the stalls. Thermal blankets go over both horses, chest straps buckled tight. I'm adjusting Daisy's blanket when I hear boots crunching on gravel outside. My hand freezes. The barn doors open from the delivery, and I left the cellar unlocked. Stupid. I was so focused on the horses, I forgot about everything else. The footsteps stop at the barn entrance. Thought I saw lights. Jack Miller's voice. Not Mark, not Susan. I turn, still crouched by Daisy's stall. Jack stands in the doorway, face half hidden in the heater glow. Heavy jacket, work gloves, dressed for the cold. His eyes take it all in, the heaters, the blankets, but he doesn't ask what I'm doing, doesn't question why I'm here on land Mark claims as his. Instead, he walks to the far wall where insulation hangs in tatters, wind sneaking through the gaps. He runs his gloved hand along the damage. This won't hold heat, he says. Got some foam board in my truck. Be right back. He's out the door before I can say a word. When he comes back, he's carrying rigid foam panels and a drill. We work in silence. Jack cuts and fits the panels. I hold them in place. He drills them into the studs, sealing gaps that have leaked warmth for years. Every few panels, he stops to check his work, adding screws where the wall curves. The only sounds are the drill, the horses shifting in their stalls, our breath hanging in the cold air. Around 11, Jack pulls a thermos from his jacket. He pours coffee into the cap and hands it to me, no questions. It's still hot, burns my tongue. Bitter, perfect. We stand together by the heater, warming our hands on the thermos. Snow starts falling, slow at first, then heavier, flakes spinning in the barn light. Jack watches the snow pile up on the gravel, his face unreadable. Finally, he speaks. Evelyn told me what she did. My hand tightens on the thermos cap. The deed. He keeps going. January 2023. She had me witness the notary appointment. Said you were the only one who loved the land, not the money. It hits me harder than I want to admit. My throat closes, and I have to look away, watching the snow until I can trust myself to answer. Mark doesn't know, I manage. Mark's an idiot. Jack takes the thermos cap back, pours himself some coffee. I wanted to tell you sooner, Jenna, but Evelyn made me swear on her Bible. Said you had to find your own fight. If I handed it to you, it wouldn't mean as much. He stares at the falling snow. Evelyn knew that too. That's why she picked you. We finish the coffee in silence. When Jack finally heads out, he stops at the barn door. Need anything else? I'm 10 minutes down the road. He sets a card on the workbench, his cell number, scrawled in permanent marker. Day or night, it's always the same. The door clicks shut behind him, and suddenly it's just me, the horses, the hum of the heaters, and the truth I've been trying to ignore since the dumpster. Evelyn picked me. She saw me. She trusted me. I'm not crazy, I'm not selfish, and I'm definitely not the problem Mark's been spinning to the family for months. My phone buzzes. Mark again. Just me on this one. Why so quiet, Jenna? Finally accepting reality? I read it twice, then flip the phone over on the workbench. I don't bother replying. 5 years I spent answering every question, justifying every hour here, explaining every move. I kept looking for approval, waiting for permission I never really needed. My silence used to mean I was giving in. Not anymore. I check the heaters one last time before I head out. I tweak the settings, make sure the barn stays warm through the night. The horses look half asleep under their blankets, barn temperature holding at 50, barely comfortable, but safe. Mark's texts pile up over the next week. Developer coming next month. Time to be realistic. Family unity requires compromise, Jenna. Your silence is noted. I save them all, screenshot with timestamps, and stash them in the cloud with the survey map and the loan application. Each new message, he gets bolder, the threats sharper, even though he still dresses them up in business speak. The blue folder gets thicker. Tuesday, I get a certified mail notice in my mailbox. Wednesday morning, before work, I sign for the envelope. It's heavy and looks important, cream paper, stiff as a board. I slit it open in the car, engine still off. Evergreen family reunion. Mandatory. Mid-March at Evergreen Ranch. Agenda. Final decisions on the estate. Mark includes a personal note, paper-clipped to the invite, his handwriting tight and angry. Time to make this official, Jenna. The developer needs an answer. My hands stay steady as I slide the invite into the blue folder, right behind the deed, the map, and months of messages. No more time left. The trap's set. Reunion day. The ranch house hasn't seen this many people since Grandma Evelyn's funeral. 35 relatives fill every room, voices bouncing off walls that used to hold nothing but my footsteps and quiet. I hang by the kitchen doorway, watching cousins I barely recognize heap food on plates, catered, expensive, probably paid for with estate money. Classic Mark, showy generosity. Crisp white tablecloths everywhere, everything too formal, nothing like the ranch I know. Mark glides through the crowd in a tailored wool suit, the kind he used to mock. He's playing the part, shaking hands, clapping backs, acting like the wise patriarch who's here to guide us through big decisions. Susan works the edges, moving from person to person, her voice soft, her hand landing on every arm, feeding the story she and Mark have been telling for months. Such a stubborn girl. Doesn't understand the financial reality. Evelyn would want what's best for everyone, not just Jenna's feelings. I lean into the doorframe, shoulders tight. My canvas bag pulls at my side, blue folder inside, heavy as a stone. Mark claps twice, sharp, loud. The room goes quiet. Family, if we could all gather in the dining area. He sounds like a salesman, warm but fake. People shuffle in, balancing plates and wine glasses. He's set up his laptop on the sideboard, cables trailing to the flat screen over the fireplace. The TV flickers to life, blue screen waiting. I slip into the seat at the far end of the table, Evelyn's spot. No one says a word. The first slide fills the screen, Evergreen Estate Financial Reality, big and bold, over a photo of the barn that Mark hasn't stepped inside in years. As executor, I've conducted a comprehensive assessment. He clicks to the next slide. Numbers everywhere, property taxes, maintenance, repairs all pumped up way past reality. The debt burden is unsustainable. My cousin leans in, squinting at the numbers. Aunt Martha covers her mouth. Next slide, photos of the ranch. He's picked each one carefully. The rotting eave I reported months ago, never fixed. The fence that fell last winter because he wouldn't pay for new posts. The barn's peeling paint on the north side. Every photo screams neglect, and not a single one shows the work I've done. The stalls I've fixed, the pastures I've kept up, the garden I refuse to let die. Mark's story is clear, the place is falling apart. Mark's voice hangs heavy in the room. He doesn't sound like a man walking away by choice, it's more like he's mourning, already grieving. And honestly, keeping the place running would bleed us dry. I grip my bag strap a little tighter. The last few slides on the screen flash by. They show a sleek building made of glass and steel rising where the barn stands now. They've paved over Evelyn's garden for parking spaces. In bold, modern letters, the words Commercial Plaza stare back at me. Mark calls this a solution. Simple, really. He pauses, lets it sink in. Then he drops the number. A developer wants to buy the property for $3. $3 million. The whole room stirs. Someone lets out a low whistle, and for a second, everyone looks at each other, doing the math in their heads. Mark says this is how the Evergreen legacy lives, on liquid assets instead of land. Everybody wins, apparently. He closes his laptop with a snap. The room goes dark. I watch him. My thoughts spin. He's bluffing about the deal being final. No developer hands over a check without a clear title, unless this consensus document isn't just paperwork. It's a power of attorney. He wants us to sign away our rights so he can leverage the estate and get the deposit he needs to pay off his own debts. Mark moves on, pulling out a clipboard with a thick stack of papers attached. There's a heavy silver pen, one of those fancy ones that cost too much, resting on top. I've prepared a family consensus document, he says, like it's just a formality. You've all already seen and agreed. He strolls around the table, measured steps, acting like he's in total control. He sets the clipboard down right in front of me. 34 people turn to stare. The document is a wall of legal jargon. It'd take me an hour to untangle it all. The bottom is crowded with signatures, Uncle Jim, Aunt Martha, cousins I haven't seen in years. All signed. There's just one line left, and it's mine. We just need your blessing, Jenna, Mark says, soft and almost fatherly. Then we can move forward together. Susan puts her hand on my shoulder. Warm. Heavy. Do the right thing, honey. I feel the weight of every eye in the room, some hopeful, some impatient, some already spending their share. Mark turns away, eyes on the man in the expensive suit, definitely the developer's guy. He gives a nod, like he's already counting the money. I reach for the pen. My hand shakes. It's obvious. Embarrassing. I feel small, boxed in at the end of this long table, surrounded by family who've already made their choice. The room lets out a collective breath. Susan's hand loosens. I hold the pen above the signature line, hovering, my hand trembling. I close my eyes and try to breathe. Evelyn's face comes to me in the dark, her hands caked with dirt, laughing as I tried to fix a crooked fence post. I remember her voice when she gave me the key 5 years ago. You're the only one who sees it, Jenna. The only one who understands what this place means. January 2023. The lawyer's office. Her signature next to mine, different paper. I open my eyes. I snap the pen cap closed in my fingers. The sound slices through the silence. I set the pen down, capped untouched. Before I sign, Mark. My voice is low but steady, the same tone I use when I catch a student faking transcripts. Calm. Professional. I have one procedural question. Mark's face twitches, his confident smirk fading. Procedural? He laughs, but it sounds forced. Jenna, this isn't complicated. Did you pull the deed from the county recorder's office yourself? The mood shifts. Confusion now, where there was certainty. People glance at each other. Mark waves a hand, dismissive. Why would I? I already control it. The will was clear. I'm the executor. That's my authority. Right. I reach down for my bag. My hands are steady now. I slide a blue folder onto the table. Every eye in the room follows it. For the first time all day, I look Mark straight in the eye and don't look away. The smirk is gone. I open the folder. The clasp snaps open loud in the quiet. Inside, everything's in order. Documents in clear sleeves, each one right where William Hartley and I put them. I slide the top page across the table. Then you don't know Grandma Evelyn transferred the title to me. 2 years ago. January 2023. The paper stops in front of Mark. Official county letterhead up top. Margaret Evelyn Evergreen's signature at the bottom, careful and unmistakable. My signature sits next to hers, shaky younger. The county recorder stamped it in blue, the seal pressed deep enough to make the paper rough under my thumb. Inter vivos transfer. Property deed. It's official, on record. Mark lunges and grabs the deed. His eyes race across the page, once, then again. I watch his face flicker through too many emotions to count. This is a forgery, he shouts. But there's something new in his voice, something uneasy. I pull out the next sheet. Here's the notary log. 3 witness signatures. The same notary stamp as on the deed. Mark's face goes red. She was senile. She didn't know what she was signing. Everyone around the table leans in. Cousin Dave tries to take the deed, but Mark yanks it back. I lay down the third document, Dr. Keller's medical affidavit. Dated the same day as the deed, January 14, 2023. It says Grandma Evelyn was of sound mind, fully aware of what she was signing. Susan's hand slides off my shoulder. Mark stands, his chair scraping across the floor. She didn't understand the financial side. The taxes, the upkeep. She was stuck in the past, not seeing reality. I've been waiting for this, when he'd drop the legal talk and start playing the sympathy card. Blame Evelyn's supposed confusion instead of owning up to his own schemes. I pull out the draft survey map. Unfolded across the table, flattening the creases. Evergreen Commercial Plaza, the header says. Dated 7 months before Evelyn died. Mark's handwriting fills the margins, clear by Q2. Max liquidity. The room goes still. The air feels heavier. My voice is steady, just like I practiced. But now it comes out easy, almost automatic. You didn't do this for the family. You did it because the bank turned down your loan. The last document, Mark's crumpled loan application, the one I found buried in his mess of a study. I smoothed it out, made a copy. There's his signature at the bottom. Evergreen Ranch, 80 acres, listed as collateral. The big red denied stamped across the top. I watch the truth ripple through the room. Aunt Martha covers her mouth. Uncle Jim shoves his chair back, the legs screeching against the floor. Mark tried to use the ranch for a loan. The bank said no because he never owned it. He couldn't leverage what wasn't his. You weren't saving the estate, I say, staring at Mark. You wanted us to sign over power of attorney so you could get your deposit. Trying to sell land that wasn't yours, just to cover your tracks. The developer stands up, silent at first, briefcase in hand. When he finally speaks, his voice is clipped. This deal's dead. Title's not clear. He walks out. The hallway echoes with his footsteps, then the front door shuts hard, final. Cousins grab the papers, passing them around, reading the signatures and dates, piecing together how long Mark had been plotting behind Evelyn's back. Mark, Aunt Martha's voice trembles. You lied to all of us. Uncle Jim is up now too. You said Jenna was selfish. You said she abandoned Evelyn. She did abandon her, Susan snaps, her voice slicing through the room. This is a betrayal. Of all of us. I stand, not fast or dramatic, just up out of my chair. The room quiets. I see it in their faces, the truth finally landing. 5 years of driving out here every weekend, repairing fences, paying vet bills, sitting with Evelyn while Mark dreamed up commercial plazas and desperate loans. This is private property, I say. The words taste strange, almost foreign. I've never drawn a line like this before. You have 1 hour to leave. No apology. No softening. Just the line, clear as day. Mark opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. The authority he always wore has cracked, and underneath, he's just a man who gambled big on land that was never his. Susan grabs her purse, cheeks burning, lips pressed white. She doesn't look at me as she heads for the door. The others pack up, some won't meet my eyes, a few give a little nod as they pass. There's a mix of respect and shame in the air, and no one, not even Mark, tries to argue with the truth anymore. Something moves in the doorway and pulls my eyes up. There's Jack Miller, his weathered face creased into what almost passes for a smile. He heard everything, of course he did. He's waited for this moment just as long as I have. William Hartley shows up behind him, briefcase in hand. He says he can help get everyone out if needed. Mark's the last to move. He stands by the table, the deed still in his hand. For a split second, I think he's going to rip it up or walk out with it, but instead, he just lets it drop back onto the wood. When he walks past me, he doesn't say a word. The man who tossed Evelyn's journals in the dumpster, changed the locks, tried to erase her, he's got nothing left. The door clicks shut behind him, and suddenly I'm alone in my grandmother's house. My house now. Not the trespasser anymore, the owner. The steward, not the thief. I sink into the chair and let go of a breath I didn't even realize I was holding. The driveway looks strange without that dumpster hulking out front. 6 months later, on a Sunday afternoon in late August, I turn off the same dirt road, the same bend where wild sage spills over the fence line, but now the place looks different. Flowers bloom, purple lupin and bright yellow arrow leaf crowd the gateposts where weeds used to choke out everything. The barn gleams with fresh red paint. The fences stand straight and white. Horses graze in the pasture, their coats sleek and shining in the sun instead of shivering in the cold. Jack's old truck is parked near the bunkhouse, which we fixed up, and where he lives now rent-free, caretaker and friend. It works for both of us. I park and grab the cherry pie William dropped off this morning, still warm in its dish. He visits every month these days, always with some legal updates tucked between easy conversation and baked goods. Tonight he's staying for dinner. Inside, the dining room table seats 8. 3 of my university colleagues are already here, laughing about something that happened at registration last week. They finally understand why I was so distracted last year, always checking my phone in meetings, disappearing on weekends. Jack sits at the head of the table with me, an honored guest in the house he helped rescue. He's in the middle of a story about the tomato harvest, his hands moving as he talks about the vines hanging heavy with fruit. Evelyn would have been proud, he says, and the words settle warm in my chest. William comes in as we're setting plates, sets the pie on the counter, shakes hands all around, his sharp eyes taking in the kitchen's new look. The heavy silence that used to hang over this place is gone. Now there's laughter, the clink of forks, easy conversation, the kind of noise that feels almost miraculous. At dinner, the talk drifts to how the legal mess finally ended. One of my colleagues asks about Mark, and it hits me, I haven't thought about him in weeks. William explains that the court put a neutral administrator in charge of the remaining cash after the fraud came to light. Mark got removed as executor, just like that. Some relatives sided with him, I add as I pass the salad. I haven't spoken to them since the reunion. Sarah winces. That must be hard. I think about it. 6 months ago, it would have crushed me. Family is everything, right? Keep the peace. Be the bigger person. But I didn't lose family, I lost people who looked the other way. The weight I've carried for so long is just gone. The people around my table now, they're here for honesty, not out of duty or some blind loyalty to blood that meant nothing when I needed help. After dinner, I walk the fence line while the sun drops low, just like I've done for 5 years, back when this place wasn't really mine, when I fixed fence posts, paid the bills, sat with Evelyn as she faded, while Mark stayed away. It all feels different now. My boots follow the old path I wore into the grass, but I'm not sneaking around anymore. I'm not the helper, not the outsider. I'm the owner, the steward, the one Evelyn chose. Turns out, she chose right. I stop at the gate, the same one where Mark locked me out before. I remember standing there, shaking with anger, knowing I couldn't go after him. My own wiring wouldn't let me. Now there's a new lock, shining in the last bit of sunlight. This time, I hold the key. My choice, not his. Through the window, I spot the journal I pulled out of the dumpster. It sits in a glass case, Evelyn's handwriting safe inside. Her story's still here. I kept it alive. Outside, the sky's wild with color, orange and purple everywhere, almost too bright to be real. 80 acres stretch out in front of me. Land I saved by loving it when everyone else gave up, showing up every weekend for 5 long years, working instead of just taking. I close the gate and turn the key. The lock snaps shut solid. It's not about shutting people out. It's about keeping peace inside. I stand there for a second, breathing in the cool air, watching the shadows crawl across the fields. Somewhere out in the pasture, a horse lets out a soft snort. The barn door groans on its hinges. These little sounds, they're mine now. Grandma always knew what this place meant. She just did. I tuck the key into my pocket and head back to the house, where warm light spills out the windows. My friends are probably inside, arguing over the dishes, voices bouncing off the walls. Real family. The kind you make for yourself. The kind that sticks around.